Everyone, this is update for July 17, 2022, day 144 of the war, and of the date update. So today there is very hot news from Ukraine. Ukrainian president fired Ivan Bakanov, who is the head of SBU, which is essentially KGB. It was basically Ukrainian sort of version of KGB, and it's inherited everything from KGB and so on. And then also Irina Venediktova, who is Attorney General of Ukraine. They both coming. First of all, there are a lot of sort of strange and unusual about these two firings. First, it happened literally in the evening, Sunday evening. You can imagine that's not typical time to do it's not very usual situation. That's the first thing. Second is let's actually look at both their history. So first, Ivan Bakanov, he is a childhood friend of the president. So they grew up together. They had business together. So Ivan Bakanov was actually helping or running Ukrainian president's comedy business. So they sort of worked and lived since childhood, essentially. And he appointed him. He was head of his party, of the Ukrainian president party. That's the party is called Server of the People, or Serve the People. Probably sounds a little bit better. Not as ugly. In any case, so he was head of the party, and when Ukrainian president won elections, he appointed him head of SBU, right? So he does not have any professional background, has no clue about this intelligence service, and as a result, he was not really respected there. He was more kind of like a vetting general heading that unit. And obviously, as a result, there's, quality wasn't there. And to be fair, quality wasn't there prior to him. So basically, he inherited pretty dysfunctional sort of service that was infested with Russian agents and spies and so on. And he essentially, made it even worse. That's basic assessment of his work. Then let's move to Irina Venediktova. She's also was appointed by Ukrainian president. She was his legal advisor prior to elections. Then she was elected as a member of the parliament of his party. Then she was leading committee, like legal committee in Ukrainian parliament, and then Ukrainian president appointed her attorney general in 2020. She has pretty strong, legal background. She's, I think, doctor of. I'm not sure what's the name of this. Basically, in the legal arena. So she has at least a strong education degree. She was teaching at the university. So she definitely very skilled and intelligent professional in this area. And for that reason, probably she was not very she wouldn't do whatever the president wanted her to do. Basically, she tried to keep the balance where she would do obviously everything he wanted, as long as it doesn't break the law in extremely sort of obvious ways, because she realized that eventually her service is going to be over, and then she's going to be having problems defending herself after it. So she realized that. So she's also very shrewd and intelligent bureaucrat, right? She understands that she's there for a short period of time, and then she doesn't want to have legal problems after she's out of the system. So So at least it could be sort of partially understandable why she's gone, even though it's still very strange. It's a total surprise and extremely strange why Ivan Bakanov was fired, right? The formal sort of reason or formal explanation for both firings is that specifically in both services there are a lot of traitors, there are a lot of collaborators basically on occupied territories, there are a lot of attorneys and regional attorneys generals who joined occupational administration. The same goes true for SBU. So essentially that was explanation why they were fired, and it's their reason for firing in case of Ivan Bakanov is especially let's say grave. It specifically says fired for improper execution of his duties that led to human deaths. So that's pretty strong reason. Never seen firing of government official with such a reason anywhere in the, well, I guess maybe in the world it's probably possible, but not anywhere, not in Ukraine or not anywhere in the West. So this is a sort of very strange situation. There are many speculations why this is happening. One of the speculation is that Ukrainian president wants to sort of find scapegoats for all of the problems, for all of the failures, specifically at the very beginning of the war, and who is responsible for many things that happen as a result of unpreparedness of the country to the war. And obviously they basically becoming kind of like a lightning rod sort of for, and as I said, scapegoat. So that's and because the situation is somewhat tense politically inside of the country, so he's probably trying to kind of like open valves to release sort of negative political energy from the system, especially after accusations of his left and right hand, Andriy Yermak, which is, let's actually go here. So this is Andriy Yermak. We spoke about him probably about 10 days ago, plus minus. So he's running his administration, but he's essentially making calls pretty much with everything that's going on. And so we discussed this scandal related to Victoria Sports that actually urged Ukrainian president to remove Andriy Yermak because he's allegedly connected to Russia, to Russian intelligence community, and so and all of that. And and so actually on this topic we can provide a little bit more information. So it turns out that his father is retired. Let's say we don't know his rank. Probably colonel or something like that, or major, from the Russian Central Intelligence Unit of the Russian Army. So as you can imagine, in, let's say, Soviet Union, probably anywhere in Secret Service, there were never former members of it, first of all. And his father resides in Russia, and then he himself, Andriy Yermak, and also his father, they have a business with another well-connected Russian businessman who is advisor to the senator, which means member of our upper chamber of the Russian parliament. So essentially he's very connected to the Russian political ruling class, and more specifically to the almost inner circle of the Russian president. So that's so there are some. So going back to their second speculation, that this is desire of Andriy Yermak to basically directly control Ukrainian SBU and Ukrainian Office of Attorney General, because there are already appointed acting heads of both services, and because they're acting, they're weak, they can be easily pushed to do whatever you need to do. They will be super submissive, and so that's potentially reason for doing that. Again, this is just speculation, very unclear why this whole reshuffling is happening. In addition, actually going back to Ivan Bakanov, his wife is also Russian citizen, so there is a lot of this, call it Russian connection everywhere you poke. In addition, we found out that this person, Andrei Portnov, who was basically legal advisor for everything, basically like sort of Grey Cardinal for Viktor Yanukovych, and then he was also connected with Andrei Yermak. He actually fled country early June this year, which obviously is technically it's impossible unless he's citizen of other country, obviously. So, anyways, this is kind of like another development in Ukrainian political world, which is internally viewed a little bit like an earthquake. Now let's actually move to the front line. Let's look what's going on the front lines. We're gonna start from the very north, as we always do, and then we're gonna move down in a clockwise fashion. So first, let's actually look at what's going on along the state border, where there is obviously, as always, artillery, exchange of artillery fire, mortar fire, but this time the governor of the Kursk region, this is Kursk region, declared that they're doing some kind of special operation, including probably also Ukrainian territory in Sumy region, to sort of, a very unclear, very vague, against some Ukrainian forces along the border. So it's very, very, first of all, strange that this is the governor of Kursk region. It's not some military sort of person, but governor. So it all looks very strange, very unclear. We'll provide updates on what's going on, but it feels like some kind of extra escalation in this area here. Now let's move to south. So let's look what's going on east of Kharkiv. Things here are actually very positional. Not even any small-scale attacks, just exchange of artillery fire, airstrikes, pretty much typical situation, essentially quiet on the front line. Now let's move south, let's see what's going on in Izyum. Bridgehead, here situation is actually also quiet, which is very strange, very surprising, but that's what's going on. There are not even small-scale attacks by Russian troops. So this is also, as a sort of takeaway, this probably also indicates where the future focus of the Russian military is going to be, as expected, when they renew their major offensive sometime probably early August. But we'll see. Can happen sooner, can happen later. It's just again somewhat speculative number. Date. And going back to the actually visit of the Russian Minister of Defense Shoigu to Ukraine, where he urged and gave guidance to all Russian troops to continue attack, to continue put pressure on Ukrainian forces. At the same time, it's very clear in these two areas, and obviously in Kherson and jumping ahead in Zaporizhia, there was no sort of new pressure, no new attacks, super sort of quiet, with obvious exception of artillery fire. That's always there. But this kind of tells us that focus of the Russian troops is going to be in this North Donbass area, and then here in this corner between Zaporizhia and Donbass front line. We'll get there once we get there. So, but actually, let's look what's going on in North Donbass. Here, actually, there were small-scale attacks, essentially along all of their section of the front line. At least that's the most northern one. So you can see there was attack towards this village Grigorievka, towards Verkhnyokamensky, Ivanodarivka, all typical location, Berestove, Bilogorivka. So it's essentially, literally, it's not large scale, but widespread attack along the entire front line, pretty much everywhere. Again, it was small scale, was more like a probing attack, wasn't anything large. But this is probably a result of that guidance that Russian troops receive, and they try to continue attacks where probably they see where their focus is going to be for large scale attack. Let's actually look at the sort of southern section of this North Donbass front line. So the only area where there were some attacks in the southern section were towards this tiny town or village, Novoluhansk. That's pretty much it. Now let's actually move south to the area west of Donetsk, and we're gonna look at this corner between Donetsk front line and Zaporizhia front line. So this more or less quiet, straight west of Donetsk. However, there were again attacks here in this corner around Vugledar area. So first of all towards Vugledar, and then towards this Novomykhailivka. And if you remember 2 or 3 days ago, there were also several attacks in this area. So again, we believe that this probably will be an area of sort of renewed Russian activity once they launch large-scale offensive. The reason for picking this area is because it doesn't have strong entrenched defenses like the defensive lines here straight west of Donetsk. Ukrainian forces built pretty strong defenses there over past 8 years since the beginning actually of the war. Here the line was kind of more going down south here, and so this is more ad hoc defensive lines that are not as strong and not as potent in terms of defensive capabilities. So that's probably why Russian troops are selecting this area as probing, at least trying to sort of learn as much as possible about Ukrainian defenses in this area before actually launching major defensive effort. Again, this is obviously also very, I would say, counterproductive for obvious reasons, but that's just sort of style of the Soviet army. And as we discussed, that's the Russian army is basically a smaller version of the Soviet army, and largely Ukrainian army is the same, just to be fair. So now let's move to the Zaporizhia front line. Situation here is super static, just exchange of artillery fire and nothing really new here. Then let's quickly jump to Kherson bridgehead. Things here again as well, super static, similar to what's going on east of Kharkiv, similar to what's going on now on Izyum bridgehead, which is new development there, similar to what's going on Zaporizhia front line, and most actually for the most part the area west of Donetsk. So all of these areas are quiet. So basically the focus is essentially, if you really summarize this whole situation, let's actually look. The focus is here, this North Donbass stretch of, let's call, larger Donbass front line, this northern section, and this kind of like a corner section here, segment between Zaporizhia and actual Donetsk front line. So again, this is probably going to be indicates future direction of the Russian effort in this area. In terms of, as a quick update, in terms of attacks by HIMARS rocket systems, there is definitely fewer of those. There were probably 1 or 2 attacks. They were not wildly successful. Their problem is not itself in the weapon. Apparently, Ukrainian reconnaissance doesn't know or is not aware of any other major Russian ammunition storage depots, and that's probably problem is basically in reconnaissance, in information, not in a tool for the attack. There's also some basically speculation that their large ammunition depot was blown in Kursk, and that might be the reason for that information about their sort of special operation on the border here with Ukraine by Russian troops. So again, very unclear, very strange information there, but that's what's going on. So that's an update on HIMARS system. There is also update on other advanced artillery systems. So there was first Crab self-propelled howitzer destroyed by Russian army today in Ukraine, which is again is not really good sign, because technically with their range ability of that weapon, you should put it probably far enough and still be able to hit pretty much any Russian target. So essentially it should not be sort of just easily destructible, yet it somehow got destroyed. Again, probably tells us about not the best use of the tool again. Then there are several, then moving to another artillery system, it's M777 from the US. So there are already probably 3 or 4 of them that were clearly destroyed with evidence, and a couple of them actually were destroyed ones, were captured by Russian troops. Those, the M777 actually not that sort of advanced artillery systems. They sort of more like for like replacement for what Ukraine have, just better one in terms of it's newer, that the bores are in better shape and everything, but it's not truly system that has a significant advantage over the Russian systems, essentially. So the real one is this Crab that was somehow again destroyed where it shouldn't have been destroyed, because the problem with M777, they are not really long range, or they basically not enough to be far away from the Russian artillery counter battery fire to survive safely. They essentially kind of like the same distance, like for like, in terms of distance with the Russian artillery systems. So that's kind of like, call it normal that some of them got destroyed and so on. So that's, call it expected, because of their sort of engineering capabilities of the system. While the Crab is much better and shouldn't have been lost that way. Again, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and until tomorrow. Bye bye.